Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's mid-October right now, so that means I have been to Hershey. I'm actually going to give you 4 Hershey videos, one on the Hershey flea market swap meet, one on the car corral, that's the cars that are for sale, one on the car show, a world-class event, and this year I went to the preview for the RM Sotheby's auction. That's a lot of very nice high-end cars, very nice. So I'm going to give you a video on that also. Anyway, this video is going to be just on the swap meet. I try and keep the videos to about 20 minutes, half an hour, so this is a very, very small sampling of what's there. As I've said before, there are, give or take, about 20 linear miles of vendor spaces, so it takes a long time just to walk them. So I can't show you anywhere near the amount of stuff that's there, but I tried to pick out representative samples so you can see the sort of things that you might find, or just watch this if you just like to look at some cool stuff. Anyway, so without further ado, let's get started. Hey, you know those little guide taillights you see on old trailers and stuff? Well, this is what happens when you put a bunch of them together into one Uber taillight. Also, what I think is a 1936 Hudson grill, which I think those are super cool. Here's a Stuart Warner wheel spinner. This is for spinning your car wheels really fast for balancing purposes. This air pump is just odd. It looks like it has a chamber there where you can build up some pressure. It looks like running shop tools just the hardest way possible. Hey, believe it or not, this is a Model T Ford. This has coachwork by Bub Body. This is all aftermarket. Everything that you're seeing here, you take the Model T body off and you put this one on, and whammo, you have a much nicer looking car, supposedly. Anyway, this is Bub Body from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and you can see in there, this is all Model T Ford internals inside. The cheapness and ubiquity of the Model T really spurred this entire industry of aftermarket suppliers. You could take a Model T and do just about anything with it. Speaking of doing just about anything, you could take $65,000 and own this 1920 Reading Standard motorcycle with sidecar. The sign says runs good. Reading Standard made motorcycles from 1903 to 1924 in Reading, Pennsylvania. When they finally went out of business, their assets were bought by Cleveland Motorcycles. Looks like there's lots of motorcycle parts here too. There's an Excelsior footrest and a selection of early magnetos. Hey, there's another 36 Hudson grill. What are the chances? Here's something interesting. It's a 1915 Chevrolet 490 for sale for $16,000. The 490 was the first very successful Chevy. Oh, here's a Ford. This is a 1926 or 27 Roadster with parts. $2,500 marked down. Oh, a Roadster pickup. This one obviously is a project. I know the guy that eventually bought this. It changed hands this weekend for $1,700. Oh, look at that! Holy moly! Ooh, look at that truck! Holy moly! Look, there's another Model A over there. Holy moly! The truck is a 1940-ish Chevy for $3,800. Looks like a good cab anyway. Those wheels indicate there could be some frame or suspension mods. You see by the tent there that this vendor camps on site for the week. A lot of vendors do that. I myself do that. The Model A is a 4-door that supposedly has been in storage for the last 66 years. Good solid metal. He's asking $6,000 firm. I'm not sure about the rear end that might be under it, though. Also, no engine, so it's a good opportunity to build something up. For those that don't know, these are exhaust whistles. They work with an exhaust cutout, usually foot pedal operated. Most of them are Airmore. That was a very popular brand of exhaust whistle, but it's a sound that you can hear a lot in old car parades. Some nice other cars here. This one looks like a nice original or older restoration. You can see the C on there. This is a Chrysler. A 1929 Chrysler Roadster, very nice one. This is a Model 75, can be yours for $32,000. During this period of time, Chrysler was making some really high-end cars, and this is no exception. Looks like you can just drive it down the road as is. Speaking of high-end cars, here's a 1963 Porsche 356B. The 356 models have been going since 1950, and we're towards the end of the run here. 1965 would be the last 356 that Porsche would make. In 1964, they came out with the 356's replacement, the 911. Tank It stops fuel oil tank leaks. So, you think you can stop oil leaks, huh? Looks like a lot of mascottery going on over here. I've stopped by this booth before. I always like it. They have a nice selection of radiator mascots, both factory and aftermarket. You can see why there's guys out there that collect just hood ornaments. This is also my chance to buy one that is worth more than the entire rest of my car. We have an entire display case of glass hood ornaments, and unless I miss my guess, most of these are René Lalique. He was a French glassmaker that made hood ornaments in the 1920s and 30s. Here we have a 1954 Hudson convertible with supposedly 72,000 original miles on the clock. No price given. You can see under the hood there, it's still sporting the original twin H power. Looks like a good driving project that would actually take a very light touch to really look super sharp. It's got the leather seats. I don't know, that's just the right amount of wear on there. I like it a lot. 1954, of course, is the year that Hudson merged with Nash to form American Motors. The Hershey Car Show is really all about restored cars, but there are a few hot rods in the mix. This one is pulling a Mullins trailer. I don't know if that's an original Mullins or a repop. Price on this one is make offer. I see by the sticker here he has been to TROG, the TROG, the Race of Gentlemen, for traditional build hot rods. Hot rods generally are not my cup of tea, but there are a few that I can appreciate, and I actually kind of like this one. Model T Fords, of course, have been hot rodded since literally day one using aftermarket speed equipment like this Frontenac overhead valve system. This is a bolt-on overhead valve system. They came in several configurations. This is a T head for touring. They also made an R head for race. Here's another common modification to a Model T engine. This one has a aftermarket distributor magneto system on here. This does away with the commutator and the wooden buzz box coils. This one is chain driven. Most of them that I see are actually gear driven, so this is a little unusual. This giant spotlight with mounting fork was only $100. I'm actually seriously tempted. We have some nice, very early bikes. Here's a Columbia made by the Pope Manufacturing Company. Pope, of course, went on to make cars like the Pope Toledo, Pope Hartford, the whole Pope family of cars, as well as the Columbia electric car. They went on to purchase the Selden patent and were involved in trying to monopolize automobile manufacturing. It's a whole thing. The show has a lot of vintage neon, and this is a really good example. This is a little bit above my budget at $30,000, but I can appreciate it. Even from far away, I can tell by those headlights, that's a Pierce Arrow. Here's a car you may have never heard of. This is a 1931 Duveau. Norman Duveau was a top car salesman who tried his hand at making his own brand of car in 1931 and 1932 with plants in Grand Rapids, Michigan and Oakland, California. He went under in 1932 and the company was taken over by Continental Motors, who continued to try and make cars in 33 and 34, but eventually gave up. All the cars, of course, used Continental Motors. Just down the way, we have an opportunity to own a nice Ford two-door body for only $5,600. I have no commentary on the price, but it looks like a really nice, solid body. This is either the really nice start to a project or a really nice finish to a project. All right, so I finally made my way down to that Pierce Arrow. Let's take a closer look. This is a 1927 Pierce Arrow Series 80 with supposedly less than 10,000 miles on the clock. It has also been restored with a rebuilt engine and new interior and has completed several tours. Yours for only $24,450. Under the hood, it looks like we have a very capable looking straight six, and it smells like it's recently been driven. It's got that sort of gassy oil vintage engine smell. Now here's something I really like. Nice old solid looking Studebaker farm truck. Looks like it's already changed hands. It's marked as sold. This is why I'm not allowed to have money. Driving something like this is really me evolved into my final form. 1913 Oakland. If you've been following my videos, you may have seen me cover this in the Greenfield Village Old Car Festival video. This car was there where it won Curator's Choice for Best Unrestored Car. Now available for sale for $25,000. This car has undergone complete mechanical restoration, but the cosmetics have been left untouched. The wheels have brand new wood by Stutzman in Ohio. He's kind of the local go-to around here for rewooding vintage car wheels. The show has lots and lots of collectible smalls. You like antique model cars? Yes. You like antique model cars still in the original shipping box? Yes. Really nice signs. I really super love this one. Mostly because I have that 37 Plymouth in my round to it pile. More than $2,000 is probably above my budget though. Ooh, nice star car advertisement there. We got a couple of pairs of those E&J accessory headlights. $4,200 for the pair is maybe a little bit more than what I'm used to seeing these being sold for. I remember buying and selling those things for $100 a pair, but that's been, years ago because I'm old. Oh, really nice. Some interesting brass carburetors here. Couldn't tell you what they go to, though. Oh, looks like we've got something interesting over here. Let's go check it out. As it turns out, this is a 1937 Model 80 Diamond T pickup truck. This is $17,900 with the original engine and transmission Oklahoma body. Although these super nice deluxe wheels are $1,000 extra, but at that price, I think I would. When's the last time you saw a nice Diamond T pickup? Especially, the rear engine model. Now, this engine really intrigued me. This is a 2627 T block with a front neck overhead valve conversion and some really tall carburetor inlet stacks because, the taller the carb stacks, the closer to heaven. Anyway, this is not the usual front neck system that you see on a T. This is a later front neck system that you would normally see on like a Model A or Model B engine that's been retrofitted to this T block. Also, it's got a alternator conversion. Looks like it would be really tight between the block and the radiator. I would like to see this on a car. Speaking of things I'd like to see on a car, here is a 1903 Stanley steamer motor. Asking $2,100, but I would think if you need such a thing, you wouldn't even flinch at that price. If really you need anything at Hershey, just keep walking and looking. In addition to some really nice old cars, you can also find some late model stuff, like some Volkswagen Rabbit doors. Are people restoring Rabbits now? Maybe. I guess they're getting old, aren't they? That's the thing about aging, I guess. The cars that you remember as just cheap used cars gradually sort of move into the collector car market. And I'll try and cover them here. Hey, look, people are still into parkour. Hey, it's not all used car parts. Here's a fine selection of ladies' hats for driving. I believe this is the 1903 Stanley. There's actually a pair of them here, and these are always interesting to look at, just especially without the floorboard. You can see all the little inner workings and the little tiny valves and things that make this thing go. It's just different technology, so it's always interesting to see. And here's one all put together. Remember earlier I showed you that loose 1903 Stanley engine that was for sale. This is the car that it goes in. In fact, if you look underneath there, you can see that's the engine that was laying there on the ground for sale, I don't know, a few minutes ago, I guess in the video I showed you that. I'm not sure if I've covered one of these before. This is a 1922 Veely for sale. They're asking $21,500. The Veely car was produced from 1908 to 1928. Founder Willard Veely was the grandson of John Deere. Yeah, that John Deere. Willard died in 1928. Shortly after, Veely stopped producing cars and the car plant was sold to John Deere. The company this time, not the guy, because, you know, he was dead. Couple of old bikes, both high wheelers. First one is a Columbia. This one is $4,250. It's from 1884. In this period of time, Columbia really dominated the bicycle market. This one's from 1889 and is $12,950. Just a few years after that, safety bikes, or bikes with the same size wheel, would really dominate the market. Here's a Griswold cast iron waffle maker, which looks like it could still make some pretty delicious waffles. Now, I gotta try and figure out how to close it without smashing my fingers. There we go. This particular style waffle maker is a little rare, and the price kind of indicates that, $3,250. Nice little belt drive motor. You can really run balls out. Here's a very nice 1939 Ford sedan delivery, just sort of randomly parked here. I'm not really sure what the story is, if this one's for sale or not, but it is super cool. Always great to see a sedan delivery survivor. This is neat. It's a painting on canvas, like maybe from a carnival or House of Horrors or something. Cool. Very top-notch 1909 EMF here for sale for $32,000. EMF, of course, has that Studebaker tie-in. I've talked about them before. Ooh, that's cool. I really like the graphics on that can. Opaline. Maybe I don't like it that much. This particular Model T is well-traveled. Do you know who idle hands work for? Hitler. That's who. Hey, here's an actual BMW Isetta project. I have no comment on the $8,000 price tag, but at least this one won't take up a lot of space in your garage. It looks kind of like it's all there, although it's actually not too terrible. Maybe a little body filler. I'll bet the engine fits on your workbench. You'll be on the road by spring. At first I thought that was a little midget racer, but turns out that's an Indian sidecar. Actually, this is a pretty interesting booth. He's got some rare radiator shrouds in there. I see an Essex. Looks like lots of odd-sized tires too, which if you're working on a project and need some rollers, you're happy with just about anything you get. Something big. Whole bunch of parts for a brush. He's got some Model T ton truck rear wheels over here. Good ones of those are actually getting a little hard to find. I've already got good ones for my current project, or I would be tempted. I actually paid more than what he's asking. This guy's got some nice hides if you're going to do some leather reupholstering, and some horsehair. I think I pointed out before that horsehair was kind of the go-to for upholstering for early furniture and car upholstery. It has an entirely different feel if you sit on it, so you can tell the difference between this and modern foam replacement right away. Over by the AACA tent, we've got an Abbott Detroit, which I'm not sure I've ever talked about one of these before. The Abbott Detroit was made from 1909 to 1916 by Abbott Motors in Detroit, Michigan. Then they moved to Cleveland for another 2 years before going under. They had just overextended themselves financially. They were a well-performing car, though, and Abbott Detroit did do fairly well in the 1911 Vanderbilt race. And someone drove one of these around the perimeter of the United States and coast to coast, that's 100,000 miles, over, quote, the vilest roads that the country possesses. And I gotta tell you, vile by 1910 standards would be pretty rough. Hey, look at that! It's some antique cellophane. There's some rare stuff in some of the tents. Here's a Hupmobile taillight and some nice cans and signs. There's another taillight over here. This is a Maxwell. That's got to be hard to find. They're asking $550 for it. So, yeah, probably hard to find. Somebody's got a nice early Model T rear end here strapped down to their trailer. Not sure what happened to the rest of the car, but you can see that the early ones are put together a little bit differently. See that ring of rivets that hold the axle housing together. That's entirely different than the later ones. Speaking of early, here's an earlier engine. A 6-digit serial number with a 1913 casting date on there. Round over to the other side, we've got another Model T engine that is missing a few pieces. Looks like somebody made a visible engine out of it at some point. There's no real saving this one, but it would make an interesting display if it were painted up all real nice. I'm not sure of the year, but you can see on the engine that there's no starting ring there, so it's a non-starter car. Ooh, here's a nice race car project for only $2,500. Race car raced in Ohio and crashed. Yeah, that tracks. Includes all the parts in the bins. That's a lot of stuff. Looks like you might actually be getting your $2,500 worth here. It's a Model T frame with a Chevy motor. Should be an interesting car when it's all done. Here's a complete Model T motor for only $200 marked as sold, which, yeah, I think it would. $200 is an excellent price. And they've really gone all out on the frame. Here's another one, not sold yet, also $200. It doesn't have any of the jewelry on it, so just, bare block and transmission, but $200 is a pretty good price. I'd be tempted if I didn't have too much stuff to deal with already. Here's some bins with some really big valves here for $1. They're probably not useful, but, nice paperweights, I guess. This booth has a lot of really big stuff. It's mostly fire engine stuff. Nice horn there. Actually, some nice early stuff here. Some coils, some brass carburetors. Big, giant steering wheel. Look at that. It's a 5-spoker. That must be for, obviously, some kind of a large fire engine. Nice spotlight there, too. The fire engine equipment and fire apparatus theme kind of continues around through this tent, obviously their specialty, and even around outside. Ooh, there's a nice little siren there, $650. Another table around here with more fire-related stuff, so including some nice early fire helmets. Fire helmets are kind of out of my area of expertise, but that looks like a super early one. Like some brass kerosene lanterns here. I did buy a Terraplane hubcap, just a wall hanger for $20. Why? Because Terraplanes are cool. Anyway, it'll look good on the barn wall. Nice Model TTC cab here, ready for mounting on your project. It was in pretty good shape and priced accordingly. Looks like a shortwave antenna or something on this booth. Oh, he does have an early radio antenna. That's that big cross-like thing. Not sure what that big piece of brass is. Looks like more of a handrail than anything else. There is, that's a tool for lifting up railroad rails. Priced at only $30 too. It is a tool that I don't have. There's a closer look at that radio antenna. It just, I don't know, it intrigues me for some reason I can't quite place. Here's a 1913-14 Model T chassis for sale for $3,700 OBO. That's actually a very reasonable price. Accessory headlight lenses there. Everybody and his brother had some kind of weird lens to try and get the most light out of the relatively dim lights at the time. Anyway, chassis is pretty complete. It's got the correct rear end under there. It's got a later rear end strap to it for some reason, but I think this is a good deal. If you can't find the correct body for it, it would make a decent speedster or depot hack or, whatever else. Hey, look at this. As luck would have it, there is that Terraplane hubcap that I just bought. There's the car that it goes on, just completely coincidentally. Terraplane, of course, was by Hudson, and it was their affordably priced line just in time for the Depression. Nice car. Hey, look at the multicolored lighted up arrows. That would certainly make your business, garage, or front door really stand out in the neighborhood. Have your wife turn on the big arrow for when you're coming home from the bar. That'd be cool. Here's a 1946 Mac EE original cab and chassis for sale for $2,250. That's a nice looking truck. That'd make an interesting parts hauler. I don't know. I might probably put a like a steak bed on the back of it or something. Lambra twist. Here's a couple of Lambrettas for sale. These are a well-regarded higher-end Italian scooter. I like them better than Vespas, but don't tell the Vespa guys that. This little suitcase-looking thing is a Valmobile scooter, and yes, it does actually fold all the way up into that little suitcase with a little wheel sticking out the bottom so you can move it around. It's the perfect accessory for maybe in the back of your vintage station wagon or vintage travel trailer. They're pretty cool. Just a reminder, I am just giving you the tiniest little micro dose of the stuff that's here. I didn't even have the time to walk the entire field, so I'm missing quite a bit and I'm not showing you a lot. This is a gigantic show. I highly recommend that you come out here in October. That's an unusual looking Pepsi cooler for $2,400. I did make another purchase. I got this 1920s Weaver jack with 2 jacking points so you can jack up the both wheels on the front end at the same time. Usually when I see these things, they're like $400-ish, but this one was only $100, so I couldn't say no. Hey, so that was just a small sampling of these sorts of things that you can find at the Hershey Swap Meet. Highly recommend it. Always the first full week in October, so mark it on your calendar for next year. Anyway, if you like that, there are some other videos I've got coming up for Hershey. Also, go ahead and check out some of my older videos. There's some interesting stuff back in there. Anyway, let me move over here real quick because there's some links incoming right about there. We've got a link to some of my other videos. You can go and watch some of those right now, or right about there. You can subscribe to the channel. I highly recommend you do that. Also, hey, feel free to leave a comment or like or whatever down below. So until next time, I'll see you later.